Hi, friends. Welcome to the Bunkhouse. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Bunkhouse. We've got a great show for you. We got a special guest today, my buddy Bruce Greene, world-famous cowboy artist. And out at the wagon, Bill and Cliff are cooking pear and apple crunch. Ooh, I can't hardly wait. Y'all hang on. We'll be right back.
In the Bunkhouse is brought to you by the good folks at Cowboys and Indians magazine, the premier magazine of the West. Pay them a visit at www.cowboysindians.com.
We've got a very special guest and a dear friend of mine in the bunkhouse today, a world-renowned artist, Western artist, a member of the prestigious Cowboy Artists of America, and one of the great sculptors and painters of all time, in my opinion, Bruce Greene, Clifton, Texas. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Red.
I want to talk about art and Western art.
It's one of my favorite
this beautiful
subjects.
painting. And two of those people in that are Boots O'Neill and Joe Leathers.
Yes, sir.
And they've been with us in the past few weeks. And so, and we did that out at the 4 Sixes Ranch.
Yes, sir.
And you painted it. You captured the time and the moment and the action going on. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
How long you been painting?
I started painting when I was 6 years old. That's 49 years ago, Red.
You didn't have to say that. But it didn't just happen overnight, and your notoriety did not happen just because you wanted it to. What were some of the hurdles you had to overcome to make that work?
Well, it's a tough job to get started in, Red, you know, to get people to know who you are. And you just got to cover a lot of canvas and show it to a lot of folks and go through the hard times, you know. I said one time that we were poor, and Miss Janie, she said, no, we were never poor, but we sure were broke a lot.
What'd you get for the first painting you ever sold?
Red, I don't remember, but the first show I went to, I sold 6 pieces framed and ready to hang for $132.50.
For all of them?
Yes, sir.
And we're proud to get that, weren't
Yes,
you?
sir. It bought groceries.
When did you learn to sculpt?
In college, I did that. Took classes in sculpture.
Now, this is a beautiful sculpture.
Thank you.
It's called Cowboys Carnegie Hall. It's one of my favorites that you've done. And there's a process that we have to go through to get that bronze. Can you explain that to us?
I'll try. Red, I sculpt those in clay, as you know. And then I have foundrymen come in and they'll make the molds for that. And what they do is they will cover that clay in a liquid rubber. They'll paint that onto there. And then they back that up with a wall of plaster because the rubber would be very flimsy. And they back it up with a wall of plaster, and then they can take it apart in sections, take the clay, clean the clay out of it, and when they can put that back together, they pour molten wax into that rubber mold. And then it's the old lost wax process. They'll take that wax piece that looks like something I made, and they dip it in a slurry, a plaster liquid, until it builds up a hard shell around it. Then they put that in a furnace and they burn that wax out of there, and there's a vacancy in there that looks like what I made, and they pour molten bronze into it.
That's not the end of the process.
Well, of course, there's colorations, there's touch-ups to be done, metal work, pieces come together. Many of these pieces take a lot of different molds to make. As you know, we just set a big one that took 100 different molds probably to do. So there's some welding, and there's a lot of artwork involved in the finishing of that. And then the patina, the coloration to go on it.
So, if from start to finish, how long would it take to make that bronze? Or get that bronze in that present form?
From the clay to the bronze would take probably 3 months to get a piece done like that. Okay, and mine, I work on several pieces at one time, so it's a piece of mine may take years to develop. I'll have one in the studio for a long time.
Thanks, Badger.
Thank you, Badger.
And then let's talk about paintings for a minute. You go out and get the subject matter, and together we go out to some of the big ranches and you take pictures, and then you go back home to your studio, and do you make sketches of that, pencil sketches, before you start painting it?
I do lots of little, what I call thumbnail sketches, Red. It's just little plans to try to come up with the right arrangement for things. And I'll look at those pictures that you mentioned, and I'll also take sketches that I've made while we're out there, you know, working. And all of that goes in and mixes with what I remember, you know. And that's why you know, and as well as I do, that it's important that we be there, that I participate in that we ride the miles with these good cowboys and feel the cold weather or the hot weather or all the situations.
And the dust.
And the dust, yes sir, the dust.
And we're so lucky that we get to do that and meet wonderful people and have great experiences of horseback in country that, you know, a lot of folks don't ever see.
Yes, sir.
And I'm so proud of you, Bruce, and your art has come a long way, and you have collectors all over the world, and I'm really proud of you. But to get there, it takes a lot of discipline. And if you were to suggest a direction for a young artist or an aspiring artist, what would that direction be? How would you suggest that they go about getting to the point where they can market their product and feel proud of what they do from a professional standpoint?
Well, Red, you can't sell what you don't have. And so you better get in the studio and you better work hard. I still work about 10 hours a day and used to work more. You've got to get in there, and I like to do it like it's a regular job where I can be in with my family in the evening. So I get in there early and work hard. That's the number one thing. And the next is to see life, study and work from life.
And when you go out to get the subject material and the references, it's very important that you paint animals the way they move naturally. And so you spend a lot of time doing that, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. I do that and have my own, and I have corrals next to my studio where I watch them and sketch them daily.
And you have models who come in?
Yes, sir, I do. Cowboys come and visit me and pose for me. Yes, sir.
Bruce, thank you so much for taking the time to come and visit with us. I sure enjoyed it.
Thank you, Red.
You bet. Now you folks stop by your local newsstand and pick up the latest edition of Cowboys and Indians magazine that brings you the beauty, the grandeur, and the drama of the American West 8 times a year. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. I know that you folks make desserts out of a lot of different tasty fruits, but we're going out to the wagon right now where Bill and Cliff are making a dessert with a secret ingredient, and it'll part your hair. That is, if you got hair.
Hey guys.
Hey, Red.
Oh, what are you cooking up?
Little pear apple crunch.
Is that gonna go with the tenderloin and
Or it'll go with anything.
and cornbread and
bet it goes
all those
by.
other things you're fixing?
It dang near goes by itself.
Use Granny Smith apples, you know, cooking apples. And pears. I've just got a couple different varieties here of pears. We started this originally. We had some Clifford them had some trees. We had some Lamb's Head had a big old green hard pears. They never would get ripe. They'd stay on there and they'd finally turn off. They'd turn red, but they'd never get ripe.
Yeah.
So we just cooked with them like a hard apple.
Huh.
Yeah, it really turned out good. That just that kind of slow cooking really broke those pears down. Just kind of cooking brisket or something, and just those things just have one of the best flavors that you ever saw.
Oh, you bet. What are you doing with the triple sec?
This was for the cook. I'm sorry, that was supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
Peach brandy, anything, good liqueur, and not whiskey, you know. Good liqueur, we'll put it on it. Soak it. 20, 30 minutes, whatever you want. You get ready.
Now, is that the apples?
That's the apple and the pear both.
Oh, okay.
We've got one done right here.
All right, we're going to try a little of this. See what you think about it.
Oh, does
better-
that look good?
We better try that because we wouldn't want to get them boys sick, so we better try it ourselves. Be careful now, Red. It's going to be hot.
It'll be hot.
I'm going to let it cool off a little bit.
I believe I would.
You know, Jake, when we were growing up in the cow country, there was a phrase that we were taught very early on. It's ride for the brand. And it means be loyal to the man who signs your check. I wrote this poem in 1987, and I want to dedicate it to all the men and women who believe that a day's pay is the reward for a day's work. His skin looked like leather. He walked with a limp, talked with a slow Texas drawl. His knuckles were knotted and his right thumb was gone. Said a stud bit it off late last fall, but hey, we knew he was lying. We'd watched him dally it up. But it ain't healthy to call him a liar. It was Saturday night before the wagon went out and he is setting our new kid on fire. Now, we've all heard his stories about places he's been, and we think that Jake's kind of strange. He looked over at me and said, I'm schooling this boy about the unwritten laws of the range. And the kid was enthralled, kind of like in a trance. Jake sensed that he had a good grip, so he straightened up, hitched his pants, took a drink of cold beer, turned around with his hand on his hips, and he said, son, a man's brand is his own special mark. It says, this is mine, leave it alone. If you hire out to a man, ride for his brand and protect it like it was your own. Mr. Wagner come out here in 1903. This country was sagebrush, mesquite trees, and sand. And he carved him this ranch out of blood, sweat, and guts. Be proud when you ride for his brand. If you hired out to string barbed wire, build him a fence. It don't matter if it's 4 or 5 strand. Just remember, it was you who asked for the job. Don't bitch when you ride for this brand, because Mr. Wagner don't hold with complainers. He'll fire one for it and quit. If you don't like our outfit, head down the trail. Find a horse that your saddle will fit. But if you get up early and catch your own bronc and show the boss that you're making a hand, Mr. Wagner will be there to cover your bets, long as you ride for his brand. He said, the winter I spent at the Sixes, we had a man at the old Taylor place who rode up on some hiders a skinning a cow and squared off at them scamps face to face. He could have rode off, never looked back, but he wasn't that kind of man. We found him in Ash Creek, shot all to hell. No Kona Joe died for the brand. Well, we know the old man tells a windy or two, like the one about losing his thumb, and No Kona was killed in a bar in Fort Worth with the demons and a bottle of rum. But I got to thinking about what he had said, and the more of it I understand, the more I believe we'd be all better off if more people would ride for the brand. Well, as my old daddy would say, we got this one saucered and blowed. It's time for us to ride on out of here. We got lots of work to do. But before we leave, I want to leave you with this thought. If there are no dogs in heaven, then when I die, I want to go where they went. That was written by Will Rogers. We sure appreciate you folks dropping by the bunkhouse today, and we hope we taught you something about the cowboy you didn't know, or maybe brought back an old memory. We'd like to invite you to listen to us on Cowboy Corner on your local radio station, and go by your local newsstand and pick up the latest edition of Cowboys and Indians magazine. And on behalf of old Dan and Jake and Leon and Badger, we thank you. Most of all, we want you to be right here in the bunkhouse, same time next week. Adios, my friends.
I'd like to thank the folks at Schaefer for providing my wardrobe from the Red Steagall collection.